Welcome back to Matters of Faith. We're in London speaking to film director and actor Ovidio Salazar. And we just spoke about distribution and the internet being actually a very interesting new platform because many people can show their works and it's quite easy to just get it on there and get it out there kind of thing. Is that, are you in favor of that?
I'm completely in favor of the new media in order to widen interest in our work, and I think for young people as well that they have this fantastic opportunity to utilize the new media to create works as well. In addition to that, it's a global village. I think Marshall McLuhan was talking about it, and it's certainly come to pass that something that years ago would take weeks for the messenger to ride with the note to say what was going on in a distant part of the kingdom. Now people know instantly.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you have issues of piracy and things like that, which as a filmmaker I'm not entirely comfortable with. Yes, I want to see my work out there in the wider public and to be appreciated. Having said that, as someone who earns his livelihood from it, I think there has to be a responsibility too by people.
Now, talking about distribution, you were saying, you know, it's a challenge to get your Muslim products out there, basically. How about films? Can you imagine Muslim films coming from Hollywood and being shown in the cinemas around the world, or is that a utopian dream?
I don't think it's entirely utopian because, frankly, Hollywood, if you look, has run out of ideas. It's slightly bankrupt, and they're having to recycle. They're having to recycle the old formula films from even 20 years ago. So they're clothing it in a new clothes, but it's the same old junk.
Yeah.
So this vast corpus of material that exists within the Muslim world is ready. It's just ripe to be plucked and picked and used and reinterpreted in a wonderful way and for people to be exposed. It's a tremendous opportunity, in fact. I mean, we do live in a time where people are searching, they're looking for new ideas and
for meaning as well.
And for meaning, absolutely fundamental to it. Having said that, you know, you have to make it presentable in a way that's commercially viable, and you can't just use it in a propagandistic way. I mean, it would be a start, even if you had a film that wasn't about an Islamic subject, that just included a character or two who were Muslims by name and that were normal people. I mean, that would be a start. If the people in Hollywood would wake up and start to include Muslims in a kind of an embracing way rather than in a kind of a threatening way, to
like
see them.
Like how you were describing your story. You were an actor and then you were searching and you came across some Sufi books, you started meditation. I mean, that's an interesting story. I mean, you could include characters like yourself in the movies and things like that. I
wouldn't entirely discredit it, but
Right.
We'll wait.
So which films have you received awards for?
Well, my film on Al-Ghazali, The Alchemist of Happiness, which I was fortunate enough to film 2004 in Iran, is the life story of Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, one of the greatest thinkers in Islam and in humanity for that matter. And I was keen to tell his story because what he does is, again, he's a bridge between the more theoretical formulistic approach to Islam, the dry legal sense, and someone of a spiritual background. But it was his journey that he discovered the inner dimension of Islam or Sufism that I wanted to tell. And he wrote about it in his autobiography. So I was able to make a docudrama which combines the drama of his life with the academic sort of expertise of people such as Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad, or Timothy Winter, and they were able to explain some of the background to the scenes that I was showing. As well, I included myself.
For what reason?
Well, because I represented the everyman, the man
Right.
who just wants to know more about it.
Oh,
And I felt by integrating the present with the past,
yeah.
that one could try and elicit a kind of a response, that one could see how on earth someone who lived 900 years ago could possibly have relevance
Today.
to today.
And obviously you received awards for this film and it got some very good responses. Where was it shown? And is it available now for everybody else who hasn't seen it?
Well, it's been shown in a number of film festivals, first of all, throughout the world. From the west coast of California to Italy to France to throughout the Middle East, India, Pakistan, I mean, throughout the world. In addition, Malaysia, I could say, yeah,
Brilliant.
where Dr. Muhammad Mahathir introduced it. So
Wonderful.
it's had a nice sort of journey.
Yes.
In the same time, we made it available as a DVD on the Matt Media website.
Okay.
So at least people, if they're typing in Ghazali on the search engine, film, they should come up with it and then they can order it.
Excellent. And what other films? What would be your key works, would you say?
Well, Ghazali was one of them. As I
Yeah.
said, I mentioned previously, I'd done the Faces of Islam series for the BBC.
Yeah.
Another film on the Hajj for the BBC. As I said, I mentioned the IMAX film that I did on Ibn Battuta. Now, that's not commercially available yet, although it's being screened in select IMAX cinemas.
Yeah.
And a number of other films. I've done a film on a leading Islamic thinker, Dr. Martin Lings, on a pilgrimage that he performed in 1948.
Yes.
And I was able to find some wonderful archive material to go along with his talk on what it was like from a personal perspective to perform the pilgrimage to Mecca before the advent of mass transportation.
Yeah.
You know, when it was still more or less as it was 500 years ago.
It contains such beautiful images. There are no skyscrapers around the Kaaba. Safa and Marwa are still sand hills. It's just so beautiful to see and so amazing to see how different it is now. Tragic, but the times have changed and now there are 3 million people going on Hajj and you need to accommodate them as well.
Correct, correct. I mean, there is for every age there are problems and there are dispensations.
Yes, but it's wonderful to have a view into how it used to be. And is this available as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We produced it as a DVD, so it's
okay.
readily available, again, on our website,
Yeah.
Matt Media.
I can highly recommend all those films, actually. And you're working on a new venture on Rumi, famous Jalaluddin Rumi.
Well, as I mentioned, when I was young, I had the great fortune of traveling to Konya
Yes.
and to living 7 months in Turkey. And of course, I was deeply affected by the words of Rumi.
Yeah.
And I feel that he is someone who builds those bridges between hearts, and he is someone whose message can readily awaken in the viewer a passion, a kind of an interest in these subjects, and to want to go deeper into the true message of Islam.
As we were talking about with Tim Winter, Abdullaki Murad, of course, he is the #1 poet. He is the most popular, most highest selling poet in America at the moment.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's an attestation to his depth as well, and to the beauty. I mean, it's surprising. It's not just about love. It covers every aspect of life, and that's what makes it interesting. And
I wonder, it must be so difficult to make films on people who have been dead for 800 years. I mean, that's the greatest challenge you're facing. How do you manage? How do you do it?
Principally, I'm trying to go back to the original texts to find out what was said about him as early as possible. Now, in fact, I enlisted the help of a famous French screenwriter, Jean-Claude Carrière, And his wife, Nahal Tajadod, who had written a novel on Rumi, her mother was a scholar of Rumi. And so they have a background in it. So to begin with, I've taken her book and his talent and tried to kind of work with them in order to formulate a plan to make this script. I now have a first draft. I'm working with some Iranians to flesh out the scenes now, to give life to it now. But it is a challenge.
Will you have somebody playing Rumi?
Absolutely. I mean, it's early days. I can't say too much about it, but it'll be filmed hopefully next year in Iran, possibly Uzbekistan. It will be in the Persian language.
Right, with subtitles, we hope.
With subtitles, absolutely.
Good. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you know, you taking the time out of your busy schedule, because producers are always.
I'm absolutely delighted to have invited Matters of Faith into our humble abode, and welcome you back anytime.
Is there anything else you'd like to give as a message to the audience? The budding young filmmakers?
That's all I can say is, you know, you just have to
follow your passion.
Follow your passion. That now is the moment that exists. That awaken to now.
And try and get into the media.
Well,
we need you.
Yeah, as it were. You should really just follow your heart.
Yes, and don't be disheartened
And
by the parents' recommendations. And
no, you do have to, in the end, do what your heart tells you.
And then you're best at it, and you will succeed in this eventually. Thank you so much. That was another edition of Matters of Faith. I hope some of you got inspired to, despite the challenges, get into the media and to portray your identities, portray some of the beauty that our culture and civilization has to offer. And I hope Ovidio gave us a little inspiration by his own journey, which started as blagging his way into the media, but then ended up with a lot of awards behind him. So you can do it too. All right. Thank you for watching, and see you again soon.